Hey, what's up, guys? It's Fizzy Fox TV here, and I'm back at it again with another YouTube video. And today we are going to be showcasing the top 6 Dead or Alive games from worst to best. And I want you guys to understand this is my full-blown honest review. Please do not get mad at me in the comment section if you do not agree, but you can feel free to spread positivity and comment, like, and subscribe. All right, now let's hop on into this video. So now, number 1. Dead or Alive 6. So I'm not gonna lie, guys, based on, graphics, performance, going down to character models looking very I don't know, plastic, looking very unrealistic, coming from Dead or Alive 5's more realistic approach to a more action approach, going to a more cartoony anime, the mixture of reality and cartoons or 3D animation. It's a very good concept, but it has to blend well. And unfortunately, they did not pass the assignment with this. And the meter system was very terrible. Probably by far the worst decisions in Dead or Alive history. It's like it was already mechanically gifted for y'all to downgrade and give us this bullshit. Also, it's like, can we just normalize not pushing out content or games that are unfinished, or even when people want it very bad? Because Team Ninja, they are one of my favorite companies that I've been supporting for a while. And honestly speaking, I just hope that this new Dead or Alive 7 release will be a eye-opener and will be a awakening for the series, and I hope that it brings it back on track. But for the most part, this was just my opinion personally on why I feel like Dead or Alive 6 is probably one of the worst entries in the series and probably should have a fresh new rebrand, fresh new start, and have a fresh new gameplay in general. But that's about it, guys, for Dead or Alive 6. And there's no hate towards Team Ninja. This is just my full-blown honest opinion, and I just feel like they could do better with a lot of the stuff that they have, created, a lot of stuff that they have, given us and stuff like that. So like I'm just hoping that this series comes back and they come back strong, you know what I'm saying? And we have that DLC dumbed down a little bit, because let me tell you something, nobody's gonna be spending all their hard-earned work money unless y'all guys do that shit. Because at that point you spending just as much as you're spending on Sims DLCs and custom content and stuff packs and all that shit. So honestly speaking, we got to start dumbing down the DLC in these games and giving people the full, the full-on game and the full-on content, because this is not where it's at. You get more respect for having a full game, if anything, more than that. Okay, now it's time for number 2. And you guys might hate me for this, but I'm going to have to put Dead or Alive 1 as the second worst Dead or Alive game. And hear me out, because this was Virtua Fighter's competitor at the time. They were going back at it. They were the both of the two, or out of the 3 Polygon 3D fighting games at the time that was being developed in the early 90s. And, Dead or Alive 1, which was released, November 26, 1996 in Japan, which was the first release ever. I can just say this. Since this was a early release, we are gonna have to rank this a lot lower. You know what I'm saying? I give the game credit where it's due. I love the fact that it was competing, like I said, with Tekken, Virtua Fighter. But, at the end of the day, Tekken 3, we all know, and Virtua Fighter, for that matter, was really the highlight of the 90s, really. Though they had other competitors like Soul Calibur and all the above, but in all honesty, I would have to just rank 1 lower. Though I love it so much, and though I come back to it more than I do 6, surprisingly, only because, I have just a lot of memory with those games. And, having the PlayStation 1, booting that up for the first time, that shit just brings back home. So, you know what? I'll probably rank it higher in the future, but, for now, I'm going to just say Dead or Alive 1 at number 5. Okay, now that we're up to number 3, we can now actually, start getting into the, more sensitive ranks of the video. And I had a hard time, deciding whether or not I should even put Dead or Alive 3 on number 3 or number 4, but I'm actually going to have to put Dead or Alive 3 on number 4 for a little bit of reasons. But since it was a solid game, I have a lot to say. Um, I just want to say that Dead or Alive 3 was probably one of the most best games in the entry, hands down, going down to graphics, us finally getting perfect versions of the characters where they're all, going down to detail, going down to the detail of the stages. Just the graphic performance for 2001, you can't really beat that. You know what I'm saying? If Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate didn't exist, Dead or Alive 3 would be the superior to the trilogy. So honestly, I would have to, double back on a lot of the stuff I thought about. Like, yes, we have good stages, good story mode, good, I'd say, in my opinion, Dead or Alive didn't have much character development yet, but they had enough to where it left you, deciding or thinking or, wondering what's going to happen next. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like number 3 should be Dead or Alive 3. I don't have nothing against the game. I just don't like also the fact that we don't have online compatibility. It's like, why? I think that was actually a year before, or probably I could be mistaken because don't take my word for it. um, but I can recall that internet gaming happened in the early 2000s, and I'm pretty sure Ethernet cables, certain things that you can use at the time, you could, and as much as I tried to see if the game was online or had online compatibility, unfortunately it didn't. So this is why it's getting ranked a lot lower. And that's probably why Dead or Alive 3 gets ranked a lot lower. It's not necessarily because of the gameplay, certain things. It's just the simple fact that Dead or Alive 3 is probably one of the most, perfected, but just missing a few good things. So that's about it.
A few moments later.
And now it's time for number 4. And I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm going to have to put DOA 2 or DOA 2U Ultimate on the top 3 spots, or one of the top 3 spots. And it's only because, and this is actually a good thing since it's one of the best Dead or Alive games to ever hit our screens and hit our stores. I'm just going to keep it real. I love the customization. I love the fact that most characters get over 20 costumes and more. I love the stages. I love the fact that the game actually focused on detail and focused on the graphics and focused on things that people have been requesting for years, especially prior to that, because, Dead or Alive also had a very strong fan base beforehand. And that's when the game was at its peak, around Dead or Alive 3 in 2001. So since this was a 2004 release, I'm going to have to give credit where it's due. It's by far one of the most Dead or Alive, one of the most best Dead or Alive games to ever come out ever, with online compatibility and backwards compatibility now that we have the Xbox One S and we have the Xbox One Series X or Series S. I'm not really sure how to say that. But if you guys want to check out Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate, you guys can go into the Microsoft Store and purchase you Dead or Alive 2U to give the game, your own honest review. But I'm going to have to put this as number 2 for having all the main, factors of a Dead or Alive game, and also incorporating very good mechanics and a few good side characters, or new characters, if you want to say, that made a, appearance. We have Tengu back, we have Hitomi, we have a lot of different ones from Dead or Alive 3 and previous games inside the game as well too, and a bunch of just new unlockables. It's like the first full game without DLC or before DLC. So I'm gonna have to give credit where it's due and put Dead or Alive 2U at number 3. Though it may make fans upset, I don't care. Okay, and now we are up to number 5 on the list, and a lot of fans may just get upset, but Dead or Alive 4 has to be on, near number 2, only because, and this is the reason why, for a game that did come out in 2005, was pushing limits with the Xbox 360 and the ability of the 360, I understand, it was an early release. It was probably I think it was one of the main games of the Xbox 360 at the time of 2005, of around like the release date and stuff. And there was just a lot missing from Dead or Alive 4. I don't know how to really explain it. For y'all having all those outfits for Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate, y'all should have saved that shit for Dead or Alive 4. The fact that there's a lack of costume selection, but it's a full game. Like, it's a full-on Dead or Alive game. Actually, one of the best, actually, out of all of them. I would have put this number one, but the fact that, yes, it has online play. Yes, it has actually very good netcode, which is why I wanted to put it at number one. But it's on everybody's number one. And it's just like Dead or Alive 4 has a lot wrong with it, too. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot that they should have incorporated, especially with the stages. You know what I'm saying? I feel like characters were there, the models were there, the graphics were there, but there were just a lot that could have been incorporated into Dead or Alive 4. Like, I love the game. One of the first Dead or Alive games I've ever picked up and played ever. I just have to be 100% honest, and that right there, you know, I love the anime aesthetic that they use for the game as well. I love the fact that they still stuck with, you know, all just the main characters, main stances, main costumes, main everything. So like they kept everything pretty much the same. It's not really so much of a difference compared to the previous installments. So, I mean, honestly speaking, the only thing I can say that has it above everyone else is gameplay, counter system, and the fact that everything seems to be in sync. Everything seems to be up to par. I give Dead or Alive 4 a honest rating, and could have been number one if it just had a little bit more into the game and it didn't feel unfinished though. You know what I'm saying? It's like you play Dead or Alive 4, but then you still feel like the game is unfinished. I don't know how to explain that, but that's why that's on my number two on the list. Also lacked certain features and was kind of an unfinished game still. And yes, now that we are up to number 6 on the list, I'm going to just flat out say, y'all already know what's up, but Dead or Alive 5, Last Round, hands down one of the best Dead or Alive games to ever come out ever. Being our very first full-on Dead or Alive game, full-on with content, characters, Virtual Fighter characters, King of Fighters characters. Dead or Alive 5 had such a unique presence to it that we haven't seen in any other fighting game actually at the time. And since Dead or Alive 5 was way ahead of its time, I'm gonna have to rank it as number one of the best. Also because, yeah, you know, I love a complete game, like I said, guys. Like, you know, yeah, Dead or Alive 5 may have had its flaws with certain things, but, you know, the fact that it's complete and the fact that all the characters look amazing, they look realistic, all the hair, the clothes, the DLC was actually worth buying. And I don't really say that much about, you know, DLC, but, you know, even without the DLC, you know, the game still makes up, you know, to be one of the best fighting games out there. You know, we have Virtua Fighter, we have Tekken, but, you know, Dead or Alive is, you know, that was the Dead or Alive game that had a lot of them shaking in their boots because, yes, they did a lot different, and a lot of the other games were still looking very stiff, you know, and as much as Tekken fans don't like to admit, you know, Tekken can come across still to this day as very stiff in a lot of ways. And, you know, since everybody likes to talk about it, you know, especially on Twitter as well, and I know this is so off topic for a second, but, you know, on Twitter they also said how, oh, they should remove Dead or Alive's counter system. You know what I'm saying? How Dead or Alive's counter system is broken, and that, you know, if y'all want to talk about Tekken, this and that, but in all honesty, that does not fucking matter. That actually is what makes Dead or Alive what it is. Like the bread and butter gameplay, the back and forth, the fact that anybody can possibly win this match, whether, you know what I'm saying? And not just because they're good, this and that, or bad. It's not based on that, but it's based on memory and you understanding the counter system and the way the game plays. But like I said, guys, back to the video. But you guys get the point. You know what I'm saying? You guys understand. And Dead or Alive 5, like I said, Last Round will be my top pick of the best Dead or Alive game to ever come out. Tag system was fixed. Everything was just so beautiful, guys. I just don't know how to explain it. I mean, if this was a different time period, then maybe my answer would have been Dead or Alive 4. But sadly, Dead or Alive 5 Last Round, just because they went all out and they went for something different and it actually worked at the time period, it's going to stay where it's at. So guys, this pretty much sums it up for the rest of this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Don't forget to click that notification bell so you guys can be notified every time I upload, and deuces.